Hey Swaroop, this is Thiru here. Just a very quick brief on the morning glory that we have over here on 3.0. I just prepared this thing over here. Let me go through this document. I'm going to put it in the Dropbox as well. So where is this in the Dropbox? Let me just see over here. Let me see. So I can tell you exactly where it is so that you can then find it. Now it's under your folder under MG 3.0 HL. Okay, it's under Dropbox. Now let me show it to you just over here as well. So if you go under Morning Glory under VT Training Research under Swaroop, then if you go under MG 3.0 HL, the brief is over there. Now what are we having here on the brief? The first one over here, what we are looking at, find out all the bars which are close below the 50% mid-range. Now what would that mean over here? This is of course on the daily time frame, yeah. So what we are looking at, all these kind of bars which are F close below the 50% mid-range. So take the high and the low and see where the close has happened in terms of the 50% mid-range. Okay, so these are the bars that we are looking at in terms of where they closed in relation to the 50% mid-range. Now the second thing what we are looking at, let me just go through the rest. Of course it doesn't need to be inside a bar, so basically any bar basically, right, which is close below 50% mid-range, so like this, it's pretty much obvious, right? And that, okay, so that's what we are looking at. And after that we can further segregate them, and then we can look into that. Okay, right. So that's point number one. Then point number two, what I'm looking at over here is, out of those bars, how many have a momentum more than 0.2 ATR on daily time frame. Okay, so what do I mean by this? So let's take a look over here. Yeah, I think I just realized there's one more for me to include as well, which is, let me just put that in. Yeah, okay, that would do. Okay, so then out of those bars, how many have a second lower low and a lower close? I'll explain this in a minute to you. Okay, great. So now let's take a look at this. So the first one we are kind of clear, 50% mid-range, right? The next one we're looking at is how many of those bars actually have a momentum which is more than 0.2 ATR. So what we're looking over here, we're comparing it to the bar before. So basically n is equal to 1 basically, right? So the close of the current minus the close of the n 1 bar the previous day. So if I am, so think about this, right? So if let's say this is 10th of June that we are looking at, this is current, and let's say this is the 9th of June. So the next day when I wake up on Morning Glory, the 11, of course 11 is a Saturday, but just for this example, okay, let's use 13, right? So the next day will be 13. So when I look at 13 morning when I wake up, the bar is starting to form, right? So but I need a momentum, isn't it? So the momentum, what we do is the day before and the day before yesterday basically is what we are looking at. So the two bars before the day when we are trading Morning Glory. So we are taking the momentum, the close to the close. Okay, let me just give you another example just to make sure that I was clear here. So what we are looking at over here, so for example, let's say today is not formed yet, then we have these two bars, right? This is the yesterday bar, yeah, and there's the day before yesterday. So we're just comparing the momentum from close to close, because of course on the Morning Glory day we wouldn't have known where the bar is going to close, right? So we only can do, what we can do is that only take the momentum of the last 2 days. Okay, so that's to do with that, of the second thing. So out of all these bars which close below the 50% mid-range, I want you to find out also what is the momentum from before. Okay, so that's that. So basically to the momentum of the previous bar basically. So let's take this example here. So first we find out how many have closed below the 50% mid-range. Then we look at how many of them have a momentum more than 0.2 ATR. So what I'm going to be doing, let me just give an example over here what I'm looking at. Okay, let's take a look at this one here, right? Let's say this one here, this bar over here, it has closed below its 50% mid-range, just around there. Not only that, then I have to take the momentum, right? So the momentum is going to be basically close to close, no? So close to close. So I'm going to take that as well. And then I'm going to see, let's say if that close is 50 pips away, then I'm going to take a look at the ATR on that bar. If I put my cursor on that bar, the ATR is going to be 129 pips. So I'm going to see 1/5 of that is how much is it going to be. So it's about a little bit more than 25 pips, something like that, 26 pips. So in 26 pips, so you can see the 50 pips momentum is definitely more than 26 pips. So it's more than 0.2 ATR. So that's fine. Then I can say that those bars have a momentum of more than 0.2 ATR. So let's find out how many of them which actually close below 50% mid-range have a momentum more than 0.2 ATR. Also, we can look into those bars where momentum is 0.2 ATR. We can do this later, or you can even populate a result for me for this as well, and we can look into that. Next one is out of those bars, this one here, out of those bars which has got momentum less than 0.2 ATR and close below 50% mid-range, then we are saying that how many of the first lower close, right? So how many of the first lower close? So for example, if you take a bar over here, right, let's analyze this ones here. So we had a green bar here, then after that we had a red one, and then another red one, right? So basically it's this one over here which I'm talking about. So this 3 bars over here, okay? So these 3 bars are looking something like this, and at that point what then we are looking at is let's say this bar here is close below its 50% mid-range, right? Okay, so it's close below its 50% mid-range. That's a tick, so close below 50%. The next thing is the momentum. So the momentum I'll compare from the close to the close, right? So from this close to this close, so let's say that's another let's say 60 pips, okay? Example. So less than 50% mid-range, 60 pips momentum. Then the next one that we then need to look at is look at the close in relation to the previous bar. So we got to see whether it's a lower close or not, right? So we got to see if it's a lower close or not. So we can see from here to here, from this close to that close, is it lower close? Yes, it is. But this one here is not the first lower close, you see, because the first lower close is really this bar, isn't it? The first lower close in relation to the previous bar. Alright, so you got to go all the way to the top where the first lower close was. If then those bars are not the first lower close, we can't say. So this is what we are saying over here. So you can see that this is the first lower close, isn't it, than this bar, but this one here is not the first lower close, it's the second lower close. So that's what we are saying to find out as well. How many of them have got a first lower close out of that 50% mid-range and a momentum of less than 0.2 ATR? I don't think there'll be that many. Then finally, we are saying out of those bars, which is from this ones over here, the momentum of 0.2 ATR or whatever, how many of them have got a second lower low and a lower close as well? Okay, this one I just typed it in, isn't it? So first of all, it's out of those bars, how many of the first lower close, then out of those bars, how many have a second lower low and a lower close. Okay, so let me tell you this one here. Okay, so let me make this a bit more clear. So out of those bars, how many have a second consecutive, how many have a second bar with a consecutive lower low and a lower close? So an example of this, so let me give you an example of what would fit all these criteria. So first we find out all the bars which is close 50% mid-range are very clear. Out of those bars, how many have momentum more than 0.2 ATR? I've gone through that as well. Out of those bars from 0.2, how many of the first lower close? I've gone through that as well. And out of those bars which have got a first lower close, how many have a second bar with a consecutive lower low and a lower close? Okay, so that's what we're saying over here. So once we have something which is closed below its 50% midpoint and then we also have it as the first close below 50% midpoint. Once we compare the momentum from close to close, then we're also saying from that, if the momentum is more than 0.2 ATR, then we're also saying how many of them actually is the first lower close. This one is the first lower close as well, so this is the first bar to close lower than that. Not only that, then finally we're saying on those kind of bars, how many of them have a second bar like this, which has got a lower low and a lower close. So it's got lower low and a lower close as well. Okay, so that's what we're looking to find. For example, if you look at this one here, you can see that probably is not below its 50% mid-range. I think probably this one is a good one. So you see, if you look at this, basically you can say that it's this bar over here is close below 50% mid-range. Not only that, momentum also is definitely more than 0.2 ATR over here, close to close. So the first and second point is done. The third one is how many of them are the first lower close. Yes, this one is as well. How many of them have got a second lower low and a lower close? Then it would be definitely this one as well. Okay, so this one would qualify as well. Now the next one, what we're looking at is which ones won't qualify. If let's say this one here, this one won't qualify because it does not have a close more than 50% mid-range. Yeah, so this is what I think would be good to do research on. Anything that you want to compare results or whatsoever, I think you can go to the file which I've done and double check it. Okay, MG 3.0 HL tab. Now let me see if it's in there or not. I believe it should be there. Let me just show you. So we trading research, go under morning glory, go under Swaroop, and then you can see MG 3.0 HL. That's the brief over there. Now in terms of the Excel spreadsheet, let me see if I can find it. Morning glory preference is what we're looking for. Check that. So under morning glory, I think I'm getting it. Just give me a minute. So this is what we're looking for. So MG 2.0 preference is what we're looking for, and then if you just click on that one there, you can see all the results in here. MG Contra version 6, and the one that what I'll do, I'll copy this one here. Then I'll put it into this journal, into your folder where the brief is. So go under MG 3.0 HL. So over here you got the Contra version 6. Not only that, you need the crypt sheet as well, but the crypt sheet, I believe you can get it from here if you really need it. The crypt sheet you don't really need for this because it's just 3.0, so it's a totally different crypt sheet. So do not take the crypt sheet from here. Okay, do not take it from here. All I want you to just concentrate on is just the spreadsheet results, and I'm going to open up the spreadsheet in a while. So go under your folder MG 3.0. Okay, good. The brief is already here. In terms of this one here, the Contra version 6, what you're really looking for is this tabs over here to double check your answers, whether the computer is getting it right or not. Okay, so when you can carry on for 6 months in forward, you can see over here February is there. You can look for high low again. Remember that we're not looking at 2.0 preference at the moment, we're just looking at 3.0 high low. I think that's the kind of help that I need. The second one, a very brief help that I need, is all the results that you got so far, which you're telling me is 35.59 or whatever. If we can check how the results would differ if you use a 0.7 ATR target instead of 70 pips. This should just be preliminary a bit because I know that yours hasn't really fill in the gap to get 59.21% for Morning Glory last year. So what we can really do in the time being is that what we really need something urgently is a 0.7 ATR target instead of 70 pips, because as you can see, sometimes what we're seeing is that the basically the trade is running, but we're cutting it out too early basically. So for example, like today, you can see the big run over here, but we almost got out just when this bar was forming because of this tiny bar here. It goes above 0.8. Okay, so the two things we need to do, once you get the answer, then maybe I need to consider whether I need to increase the filter for the efficiency ratio for on cable. I mean, reduce the efficiency ratio to 0.7. Okay, I guess that's pretty much this on this brief over here. So take a look at it. I'll be actually away for the next few days, so but you can always contact me on phone or WhatsApp or whatsoever. Ask me any questions. Alright, I think that's all from me for now. And as we always say, stay disciplined, follow your trading plan, and keep trading like a master.